the Fitterest Show with your host, Christopher Allen, where we explore the art of mind and body conditioning. As we continue to manage our way through this pandemic, it never hurts to look for ways to stay healthy. Our immune system is complex and partly inherited and partly developed. As such, our immune system is capable of improving its defenses and strength against specific pathogens. Both exercise and diet can play a factor, as exercise places the body under various stresses that have a positive and beneficial effect on the immune system. In this episode, we take a look at exercise and the immune system and how several studies have linked exercise and physical activity to overall improvements to immune health. So, let's dive in. Exercise has many proven health benefits, from reducing the risk of cardiovascular disease to improving your mood, overall muscle tone and strength, and even a stronger immune system. There are many theories as to how exercise boosts the immune system, and it's likely that this happens in a few different ways. It can increase your blood flow, help clear bacteria out of your airways, cause a brief elevation in body temperature that may be protective, strengthen antibodies to help fight infection, and even reduce stress hormones. Exercise can cause immune cells to be more effective because regular exercise reduces inflammation, allowing the immune system to perform better. While acute inflammation in response to an injury is part of a healthy immune system, chronic inflammation can slow down the immune system. But regular exercise improves the immune system response and improves the immune markers. Physical activity may help flush bacteria out of the lungs and airways. This may reduce your chance of getting a cold or flu or other illness. Exercise also causes change in antibodies and white blood cells, which are, of course, the body's immune system cells that fight disease. These antibodies, or white blood cells, circulate more rapidly so that they can detect illnesses earlier than they might have before. Also, the brief rise in body temperature during and right after exercise may prevent bacteria from growing. This temperature rise may help the body actually fight infection a little better. This is similar to the body's reaction when you have a fever. It elevates the temperature to help fight and overcome the infection. Also, exercise can slow down the release of stress hormones. Some stress increases the chance of illness, but lower stress hormones in general may protect against some illnesses. Exercise also stimulates the production of endorphins. These are the chemicals in the brain that are basically the body's kind of natural painkillers and responsible for mood elevation. Now, there's been a lot of studies around exercise and the immune system, so I'm going to cite a few of these, and I'll certainly include a healthy list in the show notes at www.fitterest.com/058 for episode 58. But one 2019 study found that moderate intensity exercise is linked to lower rates of upper respiratory tract infections, which includes viruses like the flu and the common cold. A 2018 study of over 1,400 people in China found that those who reported exercising at least 3 times a week reduced their likelihood of getting a cold by 26%. Another 2018 study of almost 400 people found that those who trained with an 8-week regimen of moderate exercise reduced their risk of acute respiratory illness by 14% and reduced their number of sick days by 23% compared with people who did not receive any exercise training. But perhaps the most interesting and probably the most highly relevant and newest study is a brand new study that suggests that regular exercise can prevent coronavirus patients from developing severe complications. Now, this is a study that was published by Dr. Zhen Yan, who is a professor at the University of Virginia School of Medicine. And it shows that the medical research findings strongly support the possibility that exercise can prevent or at least reduce the severity of ARDS, which is acute respiratory distress syndrome, ARDS. This study has been published in the Journal of Redox Biology, And it was also supported by grants from the National Institutes of Health. So it just literally came out in April of 2020. Again, regular exercise, according to this study, can possibly prevent coronavirus patients from developing severe complications like acute respiratory distress syndrome, ARDS. The study indicates that between 3 and 17% of all COVID-19 patients will develop ARDS. And this range could even be low because the data from the Center of Disease Control estimates that between 20 and 40% of all patients hospitalized with COVID-19 will develop ARDS. That's where you get intubated, get put on a respirator. Don't want that. And the reason you don't want that is because research conducted prior to the pandemic suggested that approximately 45% of patients who develop severe ARDS will not make it. That figure may have gone up since the advent of coronavirus, but even 45% pre-coronavirus is incredibly high. So in this research, Dr. Yan studied a powerful antioxidant that is released throughout the body when you're exercising, which showed to help prevent disease such as ARDS. This antioxidant is known as extracellular superoxide dismutase, which is abbreviated ECSOD, which is created naturally by our muscles. And again, Dr. Yan's studies discovered that this particular antioxidant was produced in greater quantity when exercising. So I'll read an excerpt from his published study, but it says, quote, "These findings strongly support that enhanced ECSOD expression from skeletal muscle or other tissues, which can be redistributed to lung tissue, could be a viable preventative or therapeutic measure in reducing the risk and severity of ARDS." That's pretty impressive. Dr. Yan went on further to indicate that both aerobic exercise is particularly potent in stimulating the antioxidant production of ECSOD, but weight training does help maintain or even increase muscle mass, and more muscle mass will likely lead to more ECSOD production, hence more benefits. So there's a benefit to both aerobic exercise as well as resistance training to add muscle mass to produce more ECSOD. Now, the quantity of exercise that Dr. Yan's study would translate to is, in general terms, about 30 minutes of moderate intensity exercise. So not crazy, go out and run a marathon every day, and not, I did my 7 minutes of weight training, but about 30 minutes of moderate intensity exercise per day would be enough to derive many of the health benefits related to this ECSOD antioxidant in the body. And that's generally good news because, particularly with stay-at-home orders and social distancing measures, gyms are generally closed, but one can get 30 minutes of moderate intensity exercise easily at home, going for a jog, bike ride, walking fast on a treadmill, doing some resistance training with bands. That's easily achievable. So this is a pretty interesting finding, and I think potentially a breakthrough finding from the University of Virginia, in that anything that can help either reduce the severity or potentially prevent paths toward ARDS, which is something you don't want, is a big deal. And in addition to all the other health benefits of exercise, if you get this one that comes along for free as part of just a regular training program, hey, why not take advantage of it? Additional studies on the effects of exercise on the immune system indicate that, again, regular moderate exercises reduce the risk of infection compared to a sedentary lifestyle. But on the other end of the spectrum, if you have prolonged bouts of exercise and periods of intense training or competition, can lead or can be associated with increased risk of infection. So think about if you have prolonged bouts of strenuous exercise, these generally could result in a little bit of depression in white blood cell functions. And there's this term called open window of a decreased white blood cell host production, during which viruses and bacteria can gain a foothold. It's debated in the literature whether or not this open window is real or not, but there's probably at least some anecdotal evidence that says as you get completely run down, or if you're running a marathon and you have tremendous psychological stress or lack of sleep or not great nutrition during that same period, you can often depress your immunity and lead to some sort of infection or illness or cold or flu. However, if you want to maintain robust immunity, then moderate exercise, getting adequate recovery, sleep, avoiding any deficiencies in protein and micronutrients. Again, these are things that we talked about on the supplement side, particularly vitamins A, D, B vitamins, vitamin E, zinc, iron, all of those. You want to make sure that you are practicing, obviously, good hygiene and have a diet that's on point, rest that's on point, and you're just not running yourself into the ground in general. And if you're an athlete, you're also, suggested to have carbohydrates during prolonged training sessions, again, to just make sure the body doesn't run out of energy. It uses carbohydrates for energy. And making sure that you are supplementing properly, including, one I forgot is vitamin D3, which is another important one for just overall immune function. So again, moderate exercise, consistent, not going crazy with running back-to-back into ultra marathons, and then not sleeping or resting or eating will obviously improve your overall health and immune system. So in summary, look, being in isolation and quarantine without access to gyms, believe me, I know, I think it sucks. I hate it, but it shouldn't mean that you stop exercising. You want to make sure that you're keeping up a regular daily exercise at a time when it is important in helping maintain a healthy immune system. Over the past decades, there's been a lot of studies that have investigated how exercise affects the immune system, and it's generally widely agreed that regular moderate intensity exercise is beneficial for immunity. And experts say that even in the short term, exercise can help the immune system find and deal with pathogens, and in the long term, regular exercise slows down changes that happen to the immune system with aging, therefore, again, reducing the risk of infections. And if those are still not enough reasons to start or at least continue an exercise program, Dr. Yan, that top researcher out of the University of Virginia, is urging people to exercise during the pandemic based on his research, which indicates that regular exercise may reduce the risk of acute respiratory distress syndrome, which is a major cause of death in patients with the COVID-19 virus. Again, if you're looking for exercise ideas during the quarantine due to the pandemic, you can check out the Fitterest Show episodes 54 and 55 for examples of different home workouts and different exercises that you can do at home with no weights, maybe a band, to help stay healthy and keep your immune system strong. Remember, you don't have to spend hours in a gym or force yourself into long, monotonous workouts to experience many of the benefits of exercise. Just start moving, doing some resistance bodyweight training, do some cardio, keep a healthy diet, and you'll end up maximizing your overall immunity and your overall health. What more could you ask for? We'll talk to you next week. With that, I'd like to thank you for taking the time to listen to the Fitterest Show. You can follow us on Instagram at Fitterest Mind Body and on Twitter at Fitterest Mind. If you enjoyed this episode, please send it to a friend or subscribe to make sure you don't miss any future episodes of the Fitterest Show. My name is Christopher Allen, and make it a magical day.